Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to this delayed live stream of me building a game in Lamdera. So yeah, the idea with this video is that I'm going to be building a game pretty much from scratch in Lamdera that runs in the browser. Yeah, I'm going to be using Claude AI quite heavily because I'm not actually an exceptionally good developer, which should be very encouraging to do because, you can also access Claude. Yeah, and you can build cool stuff basically, and hopefully like I can sell some people on, maybe not sell them, but show them some Lamdera, and then they'll go like, holy Moses, that's like such a cool idea. And yeah, I just want to actually like showcase some of the stuff that Lamdera can do. Hopefully, as I build this series, I don't give up halfway through because my dopamine runs out. Yeah, so basically, this is sort of like just a fun project that hopefully gain some traction and some eyeballs. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little bit sad if nobody ever ends up using it or playing with it, or if it's just like, so yeah, so I'm gonna try and take it to the point where it's actually like pretty. So yeah, so basically, what I'll be building or what I'll how can I say, what I'll be stumbling towards is a online gaming clone of the 1992 masterpiece Star Control 2, but only the melee section, right? So yeah, so basically only where the little spiders fight each other around the planet, and we zoom in and out, and we sort of like have techno music going on. So I'm really not sure what the state of the IP for that property is. It does sound like it's extremely complicated. So to not run afoul of that, we'll probably just kick off with some, yeah, probably just kick off with some triangles and a circle for a planet, and pew, 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 you know. But yeah, the idea is to actually have the game run in the browser, obviously like it's a real-time game. It's yeah, it's got some pretty stringent, I think, ping time requirements, so that's going to be interesting. But one of the cool things about Lamdera is basically whatever the ping between you and the server is, the resolution in the server, at least according to Mario, should be only about 1 nanosecond additional on top of that, right? So basically, like it's sort of like to resolve a move in the game should basically take ping time times 2 about, I guess, something to that effect. Or just ping time. Anyway, let's get into it. Let me not talk about things that I don't actually really understand. Yeah, and like I said, I'm just going to fall forward, see how it goes. It's got to open up some Cursor AI here. Close up some Cursor AI first. Hold on a sardine. Okay, so I guess I'm partially also recording my own anti-ADD guide. Yeah, but so one of the first things that I do personally, anyway, as you can maybe judge by some of the gray hairs there, I'm not 19 anymore. So I wish when I was 19 I knew this about myself, but ADD is a real thing. And the way that I at least manage ADD is I have a physical piece of paper and a pen, and I have this thing, which is a timer. Right, so hopefully that isn't mirrored on the feed there. But yeah, so basically, whenever I have something challenging to do, I sort of like close all the windows, I put up some music, I run the timer, You get the pen and paper out, and yeah, this sort of like acts to to sort of like supplement the old faulty short-term memory. Okay, so enough meta talk. Let me share that screen. Okay, so first thing you'll see here basically is my music selection. Yeah, and you can leave that somewhere if somebody's interested. Rightio. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with a new cursor window. This is just confusing to me. Open with SSH. What does open with SSH start us off with? Open a folder. No, wait, hold on. Okay, I'm rather going to do this. So I am going to open up another project that I have. And then I'll just navigate from here. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Cursor, it's basically Visual Studio Code. But the Visual Studio Code is more deeply integrated with AI, basically. So the editors have been, like adjusted, I think, beyond what Visual Studio really allows for. And that just makes the whole AI editing thing, which I am also now, quite dependent on, much, much easier. All right, so let's start a new project here. So I'm just gonna say, what shall we call this thing? Gamey game game. I was once told I should never name things. So well, I can't use one of those things. So let's just call this space pew pew. Right. So space pew pew. Might have to come up with a different name. But all right, anyway, so let's just basically open up Cursor AI here. It's going to close this other window. You need to hide this nonsense. Come on, where do I hide it? Just trying to hide floating control panel. Okay, well. Okay, so now, yeah, so the first thing you need to do is you obviously need to install Lamdera. Now, if you haven't installed Lamdera yet, it's pretty straightforward. You need to go to Lamdera.com. Basically, I just happen to already be logged in, but if you go to dashboard.lamdera.com, .app/docs, you basically get the breakdown of what Lamdera is here. I think I should probably give you guys a very quick breakdown of what Lamdera is. So basically, Lamdera is a front-end and back-end system that is entirely written inside of the Elm language. And because it so tightly couples the, and it uses the same idioms on the front end and the back end, it actually like allows for this beautifully fully hosted, highly performant environment where you don't really need any sort of like a database. You can just use Elm for your querying. Your backend is actually beautifully contained. There isn't really much transport and decoding that you have to worry about outside of setting up messages between your backend and your front end. And essentially what just ends up happening is that where this is like the structure of a normal app where you have to worry about the hosting, the front end, the encoding, the transport, the yada, yada, yada. Okay, this is not exactly like an intro to what Lamdera is. I just want to build a game and show you guys that this thing is cool. You will see that it's super duper simple as we actually build this thing. Basically, what is Lamdera? Lamdera is a platform that has a backend, and everything basically lives in memory. And I might be aghast at the fact that that's possible, but that's kind of like how stuff works. You can attach a separate DB to the end, but don't worry about that. And then there's a front end that actually like that your client sees inside of their browser. And then the Lamdera system is like fully hosted. you can just basically like push stuff there. There's like a free tier that you can, that obviously has some freemium type limitations you can run stuff on. But for our purposes, we aren't going to hit those limits probably anytime soon, unless my game really takes off like I believe it will. All right, yeah. And I really like this motto. Don't hide complexity, remove it. I feel that, Evan and Mario who builds Lamdera, they're really like quite visionary type guys. And I really like this motto. Don't hide complexity, remove it. I've sort of like got an alternative one that I run with, which is basically like delete, delete, delete. It's always better to not do something than, to automate it or to do it better. To not do it is sort of like the ultimate productivity hack. All right. Anyway, so if we wanted to install it, let's quickly go here. So just, yeah, if you wanted to install it here, you've got a whole bunch of like different options. I would strongly recommend that you don't run it directly on Windows. I would rather say like run Windows Subsystem for Linux. That's what I'm using, Windows Subsystem for Linux. Yeah, and basically like I've already got it installed, but essentially all you really have to do is then just basically copy that, paste it in there, and that'll actually like install Lamdera for you. Okay, so but that's not really like what we want to do right now, right? So we already have I already have Lamdera installed, so I want to go Lamdera init basically, which yeah. So Lamdera is also like quite tightly integrated in Git. So part of how it works basically is that actually your whole Git project is what the Lamdera deployment system relies on to actually like be able to publish stuff. And yeah, I'm not going to get into too much details there, but sort of like the first thing here is just it's going to set up like a Git project for us now. And give us like a starter implementation, which is pretty rudimentary, right? So just going to go like that. Yes, yes, let's do that. Okay, cool. I created it. Now I'll read that link. Okay, so yeah, so if we open that up, this will just basically give us this how to start a Lamdera thing. You guys are welcome to go through that. I'm already fairly familiar with it, so I'll just skip back quickly. So what I want to do is I want to run Lamdera live. That is going to, it's quite dark here. My lamp fell off my lamp basically like fell off and broke a few days ago. Should probably have that fixed. Stop making excuses. My poor video quality. Okay, so essentially what's happening now is there is a little server running, and it's actually like running inside of the browser, right? And that little server is serving up a single page app. So it's basically like no HTML and a lot of JavaScript, and essentially like that stuff's getting pulled through, and it's actually like running inside of the browser. Okay. Alrighty-o. So let's go back here quickly. Let's have a look at this. All right, so just a quick intro to how this whole thing sticks together. All right, so so it's really like very simple. Like let's start with the types, right? So the types are sort of like what kind of stuff, what kind of stuff are we going to talk about in our program, right? So that's kind of like where the types go. Okay, so from object orientation, that's sort of like where your, I don't want to call them objects because they're not objects, but that's where your records and your discriminated unions go. You'll see that Elm is extremely straightforward. It's got far fewer features than most languages. The result is, but it's got one or two features that are really, really critical and important and really like useful, and I'll babble about them a lot as I go along. But anyway, basically your types are just where we define the game, right? So hopefully we still get to that in the next 12 minutes that are remaining here. All right, so the front end is kind of like just the file that loads. When you look at the thing from the front, the environment file is basically like just where you basically define environment variables, so API keys, that kind of stuff. Right, so our environment actually is not really going to, because it's going to be fully self-contained, it's going to be people playing online, that there isn't really going to be anything. Right, and then the back end is essentially like, that's the logic for the server. So the front end is the logic for what runs in the browser. The backend is the logic for what runs in the server, right? So so that's essentially like an entire Lamdera app, and everything else is sort of like you could probably build like, I'm fairly confident you can build like entire systems without ever really making more than these four files. But we need to arrange stuff like a little bit more logically sometimes, just separate them out and so forth. Okay, well, without further ado, just quickly, I don't want to do an intro there of that, right? I think I'm going to jump straight over to Claude, and I'm going to have Claude do almost half the heavy lifting for me already, right? So, alrighty-o. Here you will see some of my very interesting questions that I've asked Claude, like, can you compare the FBI to the Gestapo? But let's ignore that for the time being. Right, so what I want to say here is, okay, so we want to make a Star Control 2 melee clone. So I'm going to say, define the basic types necessary to run a, see, also, by the way, my first language is not English, and my spelling is horrible. So, but it's horrible in my first language as well. So that's probably my excuse. So define basic types necessary to model a Star Control to elite clone in Elm. Okay, right. So specifically, ship, shoot, pew pews. Yeah, specifically, I want a basic type of ship that can shoot pew pews and can planet with E and a. All right, so let's actually like just run that. Let's see what it comes up with. Claude is just, it's just one of the most accommodating AIs out there. It's always enthusiastic and supportive. Like, certainly, if I say anything after this, basically, it's like, you are completely right, sir. Really makes me feel kind of like, like a real important, human man who runs the AI, which is, I think, part of their trick for how they're going to eventually take over. All right, so this code provides the basic structure for Star Control and the elite clone in Elm. Here's the breakdown of the main components. So the one thing is we have a ship. Other thing is we have a ship type, so that eventually we can have multiple types of ships. We have a planet, which has like a radius and gravity and that kind of stuff. We've got a vector because, we need to calculate velocities and the like. We've got a game state, so the overall game state, including lists of projectiles, planets, and elapsed time. We've got some messages, which are very critical to Elm, as we will go into. And so they just basically define how the game transitions from one state to the next, or from one moment to the next. Got an update function, and there's like a game loop subscription. So let's look at what they've defined here. Okay, right. So they have a ship for us, and a ship has a position, which is a vector. It's got velocity, which is another vector. It's got a rotation, which is a float. It's got some health. It's got some energy. And it's got a ship type. So here, despite the fact that I asked for one ship type, he has defined a bunch of ships. And then here basically we have a projectile, which also has a position, a velocity, a damage, and a lifetime. So in other words, like, I guess how many frames, I guess, it would be on. So there's a planet, which also has a vector position, a radius, some gravity. And then basic vector type. Then we have the game state, which is essentially like a list of ships. Which is a little weird in this case, since there's only really like 2 ships. I guess I should show you guys this thing quickly. So give me a second here. So Star Control 2. Let's just quickly have a look here. All right, so the free stars or whatever it's called these days. Right, so let me show you this quickly. I doubt there's sound, but I don't think it's super relevant right now. Okay, so basically this first part is just where we just select ships. So you can set up a little roster. Your enemy sets up a roster, and then essentially like you fight each other. And then this is the game. Let me quickly play this. Hold on. So you'll see a couple of aspects to this thing, basically. Like the one thing is you'll see the zooming in and out the whole time. So they typically try to keep both ships inside of the same frame, and then they sort of like zoom in closer and further as they get closer to one another and as they zoom out again. Ah, yeah, I forgot about this. So this ship actually like has an insult command. But anyway. Okay. So that's just essentially the game we're trying to recreate, right? So let me just hide this thing again. Why did it come back? Oh crap. Show video panel. All right, floating. Oh, okay, I must have pressed escape at one point. Okay. So yeah, so basically there are only two ships. So I'm not really sure why it has a ship list. Projectile list, I can sort of understand. Why the heck there is a list of planets makes no sense to me, since every game only has one planet. And then the time elapsed, I guess, yeah, there wasn't really, if I'm not mistaken, it's not really an aspect of the game at all. Like you just float around, never kill each other, the game never ends. Yeah, so the game loop basically, so the things necessary to define the game loop. So this is what is called a discriminated union, which is like one of the two coolest things in programming languages, in my opinion. One of the two things that programming languages generally lack. And all it is basically, it just says like this message type can be one of three things. It can be a tick that's associated to time. It can be a fire projectile, which is for some reason associated to a ship. We'll figure out this model a little bit more. And then we have something called move ship, which says which ship it is and how much it moves, I guess. Okay. So, all right. So we can ignore the rest of this stuff. So I want to sort of like just reason through this quickly. See how much of this I agree with and disagree with. So the one thing is we have position, we have velocity, we have rotation, we have health. Yeah. So by the way, that's the crew actually there. So we can just change that a little bit. Energy, that's a green bit over there. We have the ship type. We only really want to have one ship type for the time being. So we have our projectile. See, I love Claude. Like this thing is very clever. Like it knows that pew pew is Afrikaans for projectile. Right, so position, velocity, damage, lifetime. Lifetime, let's just see something here quickly. Okay, so if we look at lifetime, it's basically like it will obviously be the amount of time that this thing can travel before it like is no longer valid. Okay, so lifetime makes sense. All right, so the planet, vector 2D, radius, and gravity. Suppose we could leave that in there and just sort of like hard code it. Vector seems necessary. Game state, should there be a list of, okay, so list of projectiles, sure. List of planets, heck no, there's only one planet. Time elapsed, probably not. Okay, either way, so we're gonna copy all of this stuff basically, and we are going to keep it simple, and we're gonna chuck it straight in here basically. So let me just quickly see here. So what I will do Okay, so just because Cursor rules are damn cool, I'll show you guys this for free. That's free on top of this stream. So right, this okay. Right in ASCII game types. See, let's see what Cursor does with this. Oh, that is amazeballs. Okay, so let's give it a follow-up instruction. Cooler, my man. Make it cooler. Game team test. Blur my eyes. Okay. Game TV test. All right. Okay. Right. So okay, let's just say no there. So let's just say that. Try that again. Types plural. Okay, it's having a tough time here. It's always time with this. Okay, so hide this thing again. Okay, wow, all the buttons need to be pressed. All right, so we'll just basically say game types for star control team. So what did we say we're gonna space pew pew for space pew pew? All right, so we just want to paste all of that in there. Okay, so we are just going to keep this all in the types module for now. Import time. So that is the timer that says I'm supposed to stop, but I'm not going to stop because you're going to watch this at like 10x. So I am going to, what's the time now? It is now 1 minute past 10. I'm going to give myself a few more minutes on this. See now, if you have ADD, that's, you should probably look after your sleep. So do as I say, don't do as I do. Let's just take that out of there. Okay, so time, I honestly don't like the POSIX time type, so I'm just going to make that an int so I don't have to import that. It's just a look here. So what else is it complaining about? The complainy. Okay, hold on. It's not going to work. I need to import it. Otherwise, that actually I don't need to import it here. I'm not going to implement either of those two things. Ha ha ha. Let's have a look here. So it's going to make this game message because we have another message, other message types at the top. It's a bit confusing. So am I okay? Let me import time. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look here quickly. Okay, so we have our ship. We have our ship type. We'll just basically go, we'll leave that comment in there. We will basically make it triangle. Well, we probably don't need that. All right, so we'll just basically make it, we'll just make one type of ship called triangle. Let's actually make another type of okay. I'm just gonna make one type of ship for now. Triangle. All right. So we said health. I sort of want to rename that crew. All right. So we have crew, we have energy, we have ship type. What was the other time? Lifetime. Lifetime there made sense. Let's just see if there's another lifetime. Doesn't look like it. Planet position, radial gravity, planets, list planet. So I think I'm just going to change this to planet. Just give it one planet for the time being. Time elapsed. Okay, I'll just leave that in the game state for now. Okay, cool. So I'm now going to press Alt Shift F. Okay, so some of the so I just did a default formatting on I'm leaning in, which means everything is too small for my eyeball. So absolutely. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to activate Zen mode. It's not going to work. Just going to take out some of these comments because this stuff, I sort of, I am of the school that if it doesn't compile, I don't want to write it. So I try to name everything properly, so that anybody who comes along can actually like see what's going on here. Right, so we can actually like see what's going on at this point. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to say, let's call it initialize. Pew, pew. All right, and I want to commit that. Right, I want to publish that. So I will make this a public repository because obviously I want you nice folks to be able to, follow along. Let's quickly see here. All right, so there it is. There is the start of the stuff. Okay, so now, all right, so our Lamdera is still running actually. So if we scroll up a bit, click the local host. Well, obviously not going to see a game yet, but you'll get the idea. All right, so there it basically says we got to install time, but it's not finding them. And that's just largely because we don't have time installed. We didn't have the time, Captain. So let's do that. Boom shakalaka. And yes, please install it. All right, so this elm.json file, by the way, if we just look at the structure of this thing again, there's this little thing called elm.json, and that's just an extremely straightforward directory, not directory, package system. And we can put stuff, as we use Lamdera install, which calls the it just basically installs Elm packages. So it's similar to Elm install, but there are some hiccups with Elm compiling the packages. And then sometimes there's one or two like niggly things that go wrong in Lamdera, but don't worry about that. Okay. So essentially where is we? So this is up to where we got here. So we now kind of like have a backend. Now we want to ask Claude here to define for us a very straightforward. I think I'm going to take this front end thing. Let's GitLab. Sorry for the silences. Sometimes I have to figure stuff out. Can't keep babbling. Okay. So I'm going to ask it basically to render the game as very simple SVG for us. And then I am going to plug that view into this here for us. So if I rendered this as SVG via Elm, would that be? If I can't maintain 24 FPS on like a phone, make a better suggestion. Think simple. SVG in L simple. Let's see. Raise a good point on performance, especially on mobile devices rendering complex images. You might indeed struggle to reach that, particularly if there's come up with a simpler approach that could work well with SVG and Elm while ensuring good performance. I created a simplified SVG-based space game in Elm. This is all, yeah, but this is not what I want, Chana. Okay. Well, okay. Premature optimization is the root of all evil, right? That's like my line, man. I've said it so many times that I now credit myself with it. I'm not even really sure who said it first, but premature optimization is horrible. So I'm just going to say, write a function to render the game state in SVG in L. See, I'm having this thing do all my heavy lifting for me. Quickly see what comes up here. Render game state. Okay, cool. So why is it not importing our star control thingy? Okay, so it's obviously like that's one thing I don't like about Claude is it does this annoying thing where it basically like I can't just copy stuff at the bottom. Like it'll take stuff from the previous artifact and chuck it in there. But all right, that's neither here nor there, right? So let's just have a look at what it's giving us here. All right, so it's giving us some main stuff. It's giving us some init stuff. It's giving us some update stuff. We don't want to worry about that right now. We just want to take this here. So render game state, we take a game state, we get an HTML thingy out. Okay. All right, so I'm in the front end now. Just want to do this. All right, so I'll just, our pipes are getting imported. So what is it complaining about? Right, so it is complaining about HTML. It's HTML. Oh. All right, so one of the great things about Elm, if you've never programmed Elm, is that all you really have to do is sort of like just define what you're up to. And yeah, as you type stuff out, as you make changes, everything that's broken just turns to red. And then this compiler, which is just magnificent and has existed now for how long has it been? Like 12 plus years. It'll just sort of like guide you through what's wrong here. So this just basically tells us like, listen, I don't know what SVG is. So what we want to do quickly is go to the, what did I type in now there? Wait, that's all right. Lamdera install Elm / SVG. Now there is actually like another SVG library that I am not using here. Let's have a look quickly. Second. Oh, no ways. Oof, I didn't start my timer. That was all right. Oh, fear is the mind killer, people. Fear is definitely the mind killer. We must not fear. For fear is the little death. It leads to absolute destruction. Okay, so render on a planet. All right, so Okay, so we've now installed SVG. So let's import SVG, exposing SVG. It's a clever one. All right, so that is game message. Yeah, so let's do that. Okay, so why is it not seeing SVG? So, okay, so we want to expose dot dot. So, okay, so basically all this does is if I say import module, and I do it like that, then if I want to use the module, then I've got to basically do something like svg dot thingy inside, right? So if I want to use a thing inside of that, then I've got to use that. But if I go exposing dot dot, then I can just straight use thingy inside. It's pretty cool. All right. Let's go down here. All right, so it's complaining about width, meaning that it probably doesn't know what width is. Let's just have a look here. So if we go to that definition, takes an HTML attribute. Just see if there is a, just see what it's complaining about. See what Claude suggests in its wisdom. Oh, it got that correct. Nifty. Oh, so this is where cursor starts getting pretty crazy, right? So if you see this, right? So if I hit tab there, it's going to fill that in. But now it's going to show me that. If I hit tab again and again, oops, there we go. Again and again, there we go. Again and again. I don't know about you, but I'm excited now. So it can sort of like pick up on stuff, right? So VS Code's, stuff does not, none of the code computers in there kind of like do that. So I know there are some of you people out there with Emacs and Vim and that nonsense, and you're coding even faster than this, but this video is for mortals. It is not for your gigabrain. So let's have a look here. So that is, let's see if that's correct. That looks correct. See if that's correct. That's also correct. Right, so transform. Okay, now we're just messing it up. So SVG. See if there is a transform here. Obviously, like one of the most annoying things about software development is when people who have experience in stuff don't tell you what they're up to, which is unfortunately exactly what I am doing now. Okay, cool. That's in there. That's in there. Let's have a look. All right. So actually, all we're really doing now is we're just sort of like, okay. So we only had one ship type, right? So by the way, what I have installed to make some of this stuff work is I just have Elm tooling installed now. Yeah. So I just have this thing, this little wrench-looking business installed here. The cool kids use this thing called Elmland, but it confuses me because I've gotten too used to control clicking on stuff. So, but anyway, that's the only thing I'm really like into is this Elm thing. You'll see, like I have no debugger, I have none of that stuff. None of that stuff's necessary. All of that stuff is to compensate for a poor programming language. Let's quickly, okay, so I was jumping to ship type, so we have triangle. All right, so triangle, I'm just gonna comment that out, and I'm just gonna say triangle is blue. Okay, cool. Now, yeah, so it's being overly helpful now. So this stuff, just fill that in quickly, fill that in. Let's have a look where we are. Game state dot planets, planets. That's a planet. Okay, so we have game states render planet. So we'll just make that singular. Planet, yes, it's what. All right, we go here. We're gonna take this out of that. All right, we are only can like do as one planet. So actually, strictly speaking, we go like so. That can, what does that say? Render planet. Okay, well, that should have complained more, but all right, let's quickly just go like so. Okay, so now you will see that there isn't any redness here, right? So if you look there, one of the other awesome things about Lamdera and Elm is like if something is broken, effed up, then sorry, broken, just broken badly, and then essentially like this stuff on the left-hand side turns red. And yeah, and if something is just sort of a warning, I don't really subscribe to warnings because I don't think your code really should have warnings. I think there should be no warnings in your code. It should all be in the exact state that's necessary. But here what happens basically is it'll tell you stuff like, listen, this is not being used. So if we hover over that, so we'll see our URL there is not being used. Now we'll leave that in there for the time being. Although ultimately when my apps start to go to production, I like to take all of those out. So here we see ship size. Ship size is not ever actually used anywhere, right? So that's another little mistake that happened. If we go up, we should actually see that one of the functions is also never used, and that is the render game function. If I click F12 here that I've set up to find all the stuff, okay, that is frustrating. Why is it not actually showing that that is not in there? It's going to change this music in the background. Like it's got a little disturbing suddenly. Okay, I'll go back to the front there. Okay, so this never actually uses ship size. Okay, this is also kind of like a little on the ugly side because this is untyped, but okay, we'll leave that there. Just want to see where else they do this. So, okay, anywho. Um, okay, so now I'm just trying to figure out how am I going to draw an initial version of this. So, demo state. I'm just going to basically say, make me a state with two ships, one planet, and no view. All right, see if that's valid. That actually looks valid. Huh. Okay, this thing's getting a lot better. Okay, so basically all I'm doing here is I just want to show demo state. All right, this actually like renders everyone. So now what I want to do, so I've got that div there. So, okay, so the first is I want that model there. So I'm going to say render game states. This is going to complain because okay, right. So this is complaining at the moment. If we hover over this, very helpful errors, right? So it says the body of the record is list HTML game message, but um, yeah, it's basically expecting this to be browser document front end message, right? So we did several things wrong there. Quickly see what we can fix that. So body. All right, I'm just going to say a message. Okay, so let's see if this runs. Okay, just what is unused? That's still unused. Might figure that out later. Model, kind of like unused. All right, so we're just going to see if this actually draws anything for us. So it should already be running. Oh, would you look at that? Would you people look at that thing of beauty? At that absolute thing of beauty. There is our massive gray planet. Here is the vast white expanse of space. That's a little problematic. It's not the right background color for space, but we'll fix that in a second. Um, yeah, but yeah, so if we inspect this, we should actually like see some SVG, baby. Let's have a look. Yep, there's a circle, baby. Inside of that piece of SVG. Yep, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go here and we want to say render game state. So we want to say, hey, my bros, space is like black and stuff. Okay. All right, so we actually see there that we had that added. All right, so we're just going to accept that, save it. We come back here, lo and behold, look at that. Look at that thing of beauty. We actually like it out. We have not exactly lift off. We have something going on right now. Okay. So we have our little game going. Take that out of there. That's just junk. I knew I said I'd leave it in there, but you know, say a lot of things. Let's go here. Okay, so let me think. What is reasonable for our next thing here? So our subscriptions. So let's just basically say that we want a thing that says add subs and add a ticker that would render 24 FPS. All right, so we're going to add some subscriptions now. All right, so let's just accept all of that. All right, so it's obviously like it's telling us we need to import time, which we can just move there, order that. Let's have a look here. Okay, so this is now basically taking 1 second, dividing it by 4, and it's basically giving us the game message tick. So look there. Why is tick broken? Tick is probably broken. No, that's not it. Uh, it's gonna make this rain tick. Now, why in the heckity heck is it doing that to us? Time every, okay, like, so that takes a float for how frequently it has to happen, and then that takes POSIX. Okay, that's why. So time. We got trick. So now we basically like have this timer that's running. So if I now go to the update function, let's make a thing that says update game. All right, so I'm going to quickly see what our model is here. So our front end model is just all of that stuff. So that's going to be incorrect. I'm going to remove this message. It's also going to remove that message, which should break a bunch of things. But the great thing about Lamdera is look at that. We actually get to see what we has broken. So look here. All right, so that needs to get out. Back in. Back in model. Nothing going on there, nothing going on there. Okay, so okay, so the way that the game's eventually going to work is we're going to actually run the whole game on the back end and actually like ping stuff back there. But for the time being, we'll just do it in the front end. Frame tick. All right, so basically, if you're not familiar with this, this is like the coolest thing ever. Is like exhaustive code flow matching in Elm. Rust has it as well. Many other languages play lip service to it. They don't really have it. Haskell has it. That's why those are the three respectable languages. Move ship. Just over here. So let me just think. So now oh, so apologies for the quiet thinky bit. Uh, Basically, all I really want to do now is I just want to show you some animation. So just want to see here. So they have some, okay, so I'm just going to give them, I'm just going to let the AI think about this. Give both, yeah, actually, let me just do it there. Give this ship some sensible momentum to start with. Well, I've broken something. So now it's just a question of finding the little piece of red that I have caused and fixing that. That. Somewhere now there's an error and I can't see it. I think it's the fact that this thing isn't there that okay, well, I'm actually just going to go like this quickly. So update position, and we'll just say thing. Uh, oh, okay, this is what's wrong. Accidentally had two of those in there. Okay, so now it's just telling us that that model is only has key and doesn't like really have shift. So what we're gonna do is what we're gonna do right here. Model, front-end model. I'm gonna say this as a game state, which is our game state. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna say game state equals demo game state. So we'll just rename demo game state to image state, bitches. Sorry, I should not say nasty words. So okay, so this should not be model. This should um, hold on, I'm overcomplicating this. I should probably let the AI do a lot of this work for me as well. So game states. So this is one annoying thing about the Elm syntax is that it doesn't allow you to just do some simple things like actually go multiple levels deep inside of these reassignments, which can get most annoying. So we're just going to go trick. Oh, see if anything is broken. Let's see what's happening here. Nothing is happening here. I don't even know why I clicked reload. I know that I knew that wouldn't work. Okay, so this is compiling. So what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Hmm. I'm just going to quickly see if the I'm in absence of floats. Let's just go back here quickly. So this thing is hallucinating something on the float. Let's have a look. Okay, so our tick is not working. Question is, why is our tick? Our tick is not working because we didn't attach our subscriptions. So let's have a look here. Okay, so now at least we know our tick is working. I'm going to take that out. Tick, okay. Let's just go like so. Okay, so here we see a whole lot of our messages actually running, but we don't see any momentum. I'll go another half an hour. You guys want to watch this? So I guess what we might be doing wrong here is not actually updating. That's updating position. So this, I like this more. Hmm. So the rotation works, position works, position works. So velocity does not do anything. so we have the thing. Thing's position. It's not very pretty, but well, Elm is strictly typed, so I guess I can't really be messing that part up. If I look there as an X and a Y, ship has a velocity and it has a position. If I'm updating those two, look there, it's gonna go about this. Well, that sure should supposed to be drawing it. Sorry for that. I know what I'm doing wrong. Doing several things wrong. Okay, so we're gonna have to fix that, right? It can't multiply that by float time, as it has to multiply it by the time instant. What we're doing wrong is I am in the view, I am giving it the init state instead of model.game state, baby. Now, if we look at that, you won't even see the thing because it's flashing past so quickly. Okay, right. So let's come back here. Let's just go to our types here and let's just define a frame time. I'm going to rename this to something cooler. I'm going to call this moment. All right, so you're going to go plus moment. Here we're basically going to go moment failure. Let's go back here. Oops, a daisy. Okay, cool. So basically there, that's why we can't see it. It's straight off of the screen. It would look a little flickery when it was going, but let's give it a less momentum. 0.1 and 0. Let's just go like so. There we go. I don't know about you, but that looks pretty good for 24 frames a second. So what we need to do here is if we update a position for a thing, it's going to say, give this to the AI to do. So make this wrap around. Have a look what it came up with. There's a mod takes an int and an int. But round. Gives a float. Have a look at what this does. It still floats off the screen now. Okay, nice. Okay, so far, just wondering what the fastest way is forward. One of the things I like to accomplish in my series is get myself to do stuff in the fastest possible way. My brain sort of like hit that point now where it stopped thinking. Okay, I think this might be a good place to wrap it up, or at least for me to take a break. Let's quickly have a look at what we got here. So we have movement frame to frame working. All right, we'll stop sharing and then stop the recording.